we are quickly seeing that when you have people like Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche, and before them, Emile Beauvais, who view their job not as to represent the people of the United States, as every federal prosecutor states when they stand up in court, but rather to represent the White House. You no longer have a building full of public servants. You have a building of in-house counsel. And that is not what the country needs, and it is not what the executive branch's oath to the Constitution requires.
Well, let's just talk about the fact that why we have a building full of in-house counsel is because the idiots that are running the department keep firing all of the public servants. And this is Todd Blanche bragging about firing 200 prosecutors at CPAC back just a week ago, March 26th. Just take a listen.
I represented President Trump in the Manhattan DA case and in Jack Smith's prosecutions. There is not a single man or woman at the Department of Justice who had anything to do with those prosecutions.
How many have been canned?
Over 200. Over 200 either left before we came in because they knew it was coming or were fired or took early retirement. They are no longer employed by this department.
So, dum-dum, when you do that, right, and you wonder why Pam Bondi and others can't go out and actually prosecute people because, A, you don't have the attorneys in place to do it. B, the ones you do have were just brought in from, Acme prosecuting company down the street. And don't know the case file, don't know the seriousness of what the matter is before them. As you know, the FBI can investigate a ham sandwich on someone's lawn, right? But the DOJ is the one that has to be the one to prosecute the homeowner or the individual who put the sandwich on the lawn. If there's no law broken, if there's no facts that require a legal action, what do? You need lawyers who understand the difference between, investigating something and prosecuting something. Having, just made up crap that I can say because I can say it, and having the facts that actually prove what I just said to be in violation of the law. So where does the department go when you've got the idiocracy firing the good people, bringing in hand-me-down lawyers? Sorry, but that's what you are at this point, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Michael's looking at me like, I don't know how much of that I want to step into.
Oh, no, I'm willing to step into all of it. So, look, when I was in law school, admittedly 25 years ago, getting a job as an assistant U.S. attorney was the pinnacle that a young lawyer could reach. It was the most prestigious. Mm-hmm. It was the most challenging. It was the most exciting. And you could do it while serving your country.
Yes.
Yep.
And I have friends who worked with Todd Blanche at SDNY, who, before this administration came to power, assured me that he would walk the line on the right side because of his experience. And I don't know what happened, but something clearly did, or a lot of people were fooled, because this DOJ not only is not walking the line, they're stepping over it and trying to indict people for reasons that have nothing more than revenge behind them, but they're not even successful at it. How many real indictments of Trump opponents have held up? This is unheard of for the Eastern District of Virginia or for the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia to try and get indictments and fail. Like, I don't know if people outside the legal community realize this, but this is like waking up one day and there's no gravity.
No, it's embarrassing. It's suddenly like the New York Yankees are single A. It's really shocking. I presume that in the years ahead, there will be a book that comes out about the firing of Pam Bondi. And I'm just going to guess that it had something to do with the Epstein files. This is what Todd Blanche said about the Epstein files, and I want to get your take on the other side.
Now, the Epstein files, you'd agree, not handled well?
No, and I don't. First of all, I have never heard President Trump say that the Attorney General that anything that happened to her had anything to do with the Epstein files. And so, look, the Epstein files has been a saga that's lasted for the past year. And so I think that to the extent that the Epstein files was a part of the past year of this Justice Department, it should not be a part of anything going forward. When President Trump said, let's release the Epstein files, and the law was passed that allowed us to legally do it, we did it.
Okay. I'm not sure you totally get what people feel about that.
So, to put it mildly, Jesse, but we have a pattern with President Trump. If he doesn't feel that the AG is doing enough to clean up his own mess inside his own house, we have examples of Jeff Sessions, we have examples of Bill Barr. They don't do enough. I feel that Pam Bondi is the next one in that line. But here's the thing about the Epstein files. They were released under a vote from Congress. He got incredible pressure from his own party saying, we got to do more than what you've actually done before. When you see Blanche essentially saying that that's in the past, Michael, do you think that he's able to control that? Or is there more in the slow leak that could possibly turn the tide on that one?
Well, first things first, let's give credit where credit's due. Todd Blanche is the first Republican in history to make a Fox News host Blanche and wins. So, let's honor his accomplishment. Right. But I have a slightly different point of view. The Epstein files is almost undoubtedly why Pam Bondi was pushed out of her office.
Right.
But had it not been the Epstein files, it would have been something else. Mm-hmm. Name me... I can't think of more than 2 or 3 cabinet officials from Trump's first term who lasted all 4 years. Yes. It's impossible. He is an impetuous man-child who happens to have ascended to the highest office in the land, but has not grown into it one iota. And as a result, when he doesn't get his way, somebody else has to pay the price. The Epstein files proved an embarrassment to Trump. Pam Bondi was occupying the head office at DOJ at the time, so she had to go. But had it not been the Epstein files, it would have been her failure to get an indictment against the Congress people, one of whom you just had on the air, who reminded soldiers of their duty not to carry out illegal orders. Nobody's going to survive this throughout all 4 years because it's not survivable when you work for somebody who is fundamentally unreasonable.